program to talk about another important matter of national interest. This evening's discussion will focus on government's plans to construct an international airport. On Tuesday, Independence Day, I announced that the construction site will be handed over to the developers by the end of the year, with construction expected to begin in the first quarter of 2021. This is an ambitious undertaking for your government, but we remain convinced of the wisdom of building an international airport to increase this country's economic viability. The International Airport project will open up many opportunities for development in various sectors, to include tourism and agriculture, and will certainly create new employment opportunities for citizens. Over the next few months, you will hear much more from us on the various benefits associated with this project, as well as our unfolding plans and actions to bring it to fruition. Tonight, I wish to begin with a discussion about the airport development site and how the communities of Wesley, Woodfordale, and Palm Tree will be directly impacted. My guests are Mr. Marcus Lestrade, the Director of Surveys and Commissioner of Lands, Mr. Joseph Morvan, Communication and Navigation Technical Specialist, and Mr. Bernard Lloyd, our Senior Property Valuer. We look forward to your calls, and the number is 225-340-3400 and 611-3400. 225-3400 and 611-3400. Thank you. Gentlemen, welcome. Mr. Lestrade, how are you this evening?
Fine, very fine.
Now, tell us about your background and your involvement with airport development in Dominica.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. It's good to be here. Well, as you indicated, I'm the Director of Surveys and Commissioner of Lands in Dominica. I'm responsible for the administration of all state lands. It also includes the advice to government on land matters, protection, allocation of state lands, and also land acquisition for public purposes. I'm also the authorized officer for the acquisition of all properties as it relates to the international airport. I'm also part of the negotiating team for negotiating compensation. Regarding the international airport project, I've been involved from inception. That is the current airport project. I've been involved from inception, and that includes the site identification, and that was based on reports from the professionals. We were also involved in the identification of boundaries of the properties within the airport perimeter. We were also involved in the surveying of the boundaries of the airport site. Prior to that, I was involved in and part of a team to survey all the lands regarding the international airport at Compton Point. I was also involved in the surveys of all the lands as it regards the acquisition of lands for the past airport as under the previous administration.
So you've been around for some time?
I've been around for some time.
Now, thank you very much, Lestrade. Now, Mr. Morvan, you are attached to the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority. Can you tell us about your professional background within the aviation sector?
Good evening, PM, and good evening to your listening public. Yes, you're correct. I've been in the aviation business from 1989. I began as an air traffic controller, and then some 13 years ago, I joined the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority. And I've been involved in the technical aspect as it relates to communications and navigations with the airport authority and the various annexes which guards and the airport operations in Dominica.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lloyd, you head the negotiating team for the airport development project. Can you tell us about your professional background and experience, please?
Okay, good evening, PM. Good evening to the listening public, both here and in the wider diaspora. I welcome the opportunity to be here tonight to at least enlighten the public on an initiative I think is one of the major projects that we have ongoing or ready to commence in Dominica. I am the senior property valuer, and by virtue of my position, the lead negotiator on the negotiating team. I also head the property valuation unit, which falls under the ambit of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. At that unit, basically what we do is to provide advice to government on the prices that to be paid for lands that are being acquired. Also, we deal with analyzing of sales. So for instance, with a project of the magnitude of the airport, what we would have done as a team is to go out there to the land registry, for instance, and gather data relating to the sales of lands in generally the Wesley, Marigot, Woodford Hill, and Calibishi area. That is basically to get a feel of the range of prices that we intend to offer or that we offer to the affected residents. A lot of background work has been done to get to the stage that we're at now, and I want to compliment my team at the unit. Very hardworking team. Sometimes they think that I'm kind of tough on them, but it's all about getting the work done. So we would have picked up all the information from the land registry, analyze it, and it's on that basis that we'll make the offer to the residents of Wesley. Right. So I'm happy to be here tonight to share with the general public in terms of the negotiation status.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Quite clearly, you bring to the table a varied mix of expertise and experience and knowledge of this project. I mean, you've been around since the 80s there with this. Mr. Marvin has been in the aviation sector for several years, and of course, Mr. Lloyd working in the government system and government property valuer. Now, I want us to spend some time talking about the site which has been identified for the international airport and its various features, because I think the public would want to have some more detailed information in that respect. Now, where will the airport be constructed? Can you describe to our listeners who are familiar with the area what specific parts of West, the Woodford Hill Palm Tree area will be used for this facility? Mr. Lloyd, I'll leave it to.
Okay. I will shoot it at 1 p.m. Okay. So I have been involved in the airport development project almost from its inception. So I have been on the ground. I have met with most of the affected landowners and even the general Wesley community. I can say that the airport really, I usually describe it in two components: the runway or the landing strip aspect of it component, and then we have the apron, the terminal building section. All right. The runway really starts, and for the persons residing in the Wesley, Woodford Hill, Palm Tree area, the runway actually stretches from Woodford Hill Estate, and for the older folks in Wesley or Woodford Hill, it starts in an area commonly referred to as Kitchen Garden. I know a lot of the younger folks will not be familiar with that area in Wesley, but it is towards the extreme northwest end of the Woodford Hill estate area. And from there, it stretches through the palm tree area, through Eden Estate. We're all familiar with Eden on Sea and Eden on Land. It goes into an area called Bonham, from there into Bottom Wesley and into the Walker's Rest area. The total length for the runway will be approximately 9,500 feet. The other section of the airport, which is really the apron and the terminal building area, is really it's really in the Woodford Hill Estate area. And those of us who are familiar with the Garnet Didi's property at Wesley, this is Garnet Didi, sorry, the terminal building will be located in that general area at Woodford Hill Estate, basically.
Now, just to facilitate further the location of the site, you would drive into this road by the police station, and you go into the school. That's correct?
Yes.
So you can stay from there and you can see there almost the entire length of.
So basically, if you stand at the playing field, at the primary school area in Wesley, that area will give you a good visual of the extent of the runway in terms of the top of the runway to the bottom of the runway, basically.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lestrade, as you indicated earlier, you have been involved throughout the years. You spoke of Crompton Point, which was in the 80s or 90s, thereabout?
In the early 90s.
And then you spoke about the Londonderry site of the late 90s, and currently this site. And so you've been involved in the process of property acquisitions, etc. Can you walk us through the various attempts to do so and how we came to settle on this current location?
Well, the most recent attempt to acquire lands was under the past CWP administration, where approximately 560 acres of land, well, mostly agricultural land, was acquired for the proposed airport. And this included 195 parcels, and among that there were about 176 landowners. So regarding the current site, well, as you know, we are always guided by the professionals. So in identifying that site, what we used were we knew there were some studies that were conducted previously. So what we did, we researched some of the studies, and we found out that the most recent one was the Gibbs study of 1988, which was conducted by Sir Alexander Gibbs. The report spoke about a number of sites, I think 8 potential sites that were identified as possible sites. So we had Branch Ridge in Poncassé, we had Laplaine, we had Cabrits, we had Douglas Bay, we also had Point Round, and we had Salisbury, Grand Savannah, we had Crompton Point. As a matter of fact, we had 2 alignments for Crompton Point, and then we had the Woodford Hill site, which, as the report indicated, that was the preferred site, because there were no obstructions both on the approach and the takeoff, because we have a sea approach both on the northwestern and southeastern approaches. So basically, it was an obstruction-free approach. Also, that site was selected because of the tailwinds, the southeast, the trade winds come from the southeast, so it would not pose any problems regarding crosswinds. So that was the reason why this site was selected, and that's why we are here today.
Thank you. Now, moving from your professional background, why was this site deemed the most suitable? And why is it the safest option for construction of the international airport?
In aviation, we put safety first, safety at the heart. And from the various sites that were selected, an evaluation matrix was conducted, and the criteria that were chosen were the wind conditions, that would be favorable winds for aircraft operation to land and depart. Then we have obstruction, then earthworks in terms of cost, and the socio-economic impact. This was the only site that satisfied all the criteria. Now, we are taught in aviation to recognize a problem, identify them, verify them, and then take action. So it was most suitable to choose this site or to select this site because from the site that the previous government, the previous administration selected, we recognized that there would be an issue in terms of obstruction. And as a result, this site was eliminated since it would have only a one approach with a tailwind every time, just as we have the at Douglas Charles currently. So that had to be eliminated based on that criteria.
But can you give the public a little more information on this though? I mean, that you're saying that one of the factors, some of the factors which were given consideration for this site was one, the alignment over the sea, and taking into consideration the prevailing wind. Can you go deeper into this for all of us who don't have the professional experience that you have?
A flight begins from the time an aircraft powers off at the end of the runway to the time it lands at another airport and then turns off the runway onto the tarmac. The two most critical aspects of any flight, or all flights, is during departure, which is takeoff, and landing, arrival. At any point, we could have what we call a bulk landing. That is where the pilot has to abandon his approach and do a misapproach. With this side, there are no obstructions on either end of the runway. So the pilot has the option to approach and land from both ends with no obstacles, no terrain obstacles. And if he should reach to a point where he has to abandon his departure, then he would not have to be worried about flying into terrain. With the other sides, we had obstructions on one of those ends.
I see.
And that would affect the certification.
When you say obstruction, what are you talking about?
Terrain obstruction.
Mountain.
Mountain. A mountain. Now, that would pose a problem. For this airport, we have what dual approach with ILS system, that's instrument landing system. A major one and a basic one at the other end, which will obviously be upgraded for both approaches eventually. Now, that would affect the minimum decision height for the pilot in if he encounters weather situations or visibility issues and nighttime landing. So he'd have to approach at higher minimums, and possibility of abandoning the approach due to lack of visibility, because on an instrument approach there is a visual component to it. So at some point he has to transition from instrument to visual to complete his landing. If we were to choose any other site but this, then we would still end up with having to abandon approach at certain points and fly to another destination, which would incur additional expense on the operators. So that is why this site was chosen. It's more user-friendly for the pilots. It is a stress-free approach on both ends. Should they encounter any IMC conditions, the ILS Category 1 allows for an approach with a decision height of 200 meters, that's about 500 feet above ground level, and a runway visual range of about 560 meters. So that is why this site was chosen ahead of all the other sites.
So you're saying to the listeners that the lands that were acquired in 1998 to build the international airport, the proposed international airport in the Londonderry area, some 560 acres, that we could have found ourselves almost in a similar situation with the current Douglas Childs Airport.
That is correct.
And with this current site that was identified by the American firm, along with yourself, because you were fully engaged in this process as the coordinator, that you're saying that the site selected by this recognized renowned American firm, that on both ends of the runway that there are no obstructions, and that you could either land or take off from either side.
From either end.
Either end. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Now, in order for us to build this airport, we would have to conduct necessary topographical and soil studies. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Where are we with this?
Currently, we have the geotech survey, which will be commencing prior to construction. But prior to that, WGS 84 survey was conducted, and
Well, what is this? I mean, we are completely illiterate on such high technical matters.
that is an institution that collects data worldwide.
Okay.
And they were employed to do a survey on the site, on the selected site from 2011 to 2015, and 27,000 pieces of data was collected, and that was used to determine also why we should select this site ahead of any other site.
Okay.
That was verified.
And what about the environment impact assessment?
That was also done, but a more in-depth study is being conducted as we speak.
Okay.
The effect of noise pollution is being looked at, and the bird strike, and to determine how it's going to affect the residents that are straddling along the runway fence line, and that's outside the perimeter of the runway, and also the wider community of Wesley. However, the socio-economic impact was also looked at, and the effect it's going to have on the residents of Wesley and the wider community far surpasses the negative impact.
Right.
And therefore, if we were to construct or continue, if we were to go ahead and construct this airport, the people that are affected, the possibility of just relocating them to allow the project to go ahead and the airport to operate freely would be the better option.
Okay. So, a more in-depth environmental impact assessment will be conducted, and an international firm with local counterparts here have been identified to carry out this. And of course, as indicated by our guest, we utilize an American firm to conduct this assessment. The terms of reference are given to them to say, look, this is the country. You advise us on the most suitable location or site for the airport, and we allow the process to go ahead. Several studies were done quietly, as you know, because I did not want to raise people's expectations unnecessarily back then. And we allowed this to be conducted, and we had this report, and which we've shared with the public before, and we've heard the reasons why this site, as opposed to others, was identified. Now, over the past year, we have been undertaking the issue of land acquisition in the Wesley area, and have made payments to several farmers and some property owners for their crops and properties. Now, Mr. Lloyd, you are heading the negotiating team for the government, and therefore you have been deeply involved in this process. Where are we with this, and how much land have we acquired in the selected area?
Okay, good question. The acquisition process started, I think, somewhere in late 2018. 2018, November there was 2018. For the project, I must say that the project perimeter covers an area of about 411 acres. Okay, within that acreage, there are some 233 properties. All right. 70 of these properties within the Woodfall Estate area, sorry, the Eden Estate area, Bottom Wesley, Battis, Bonham. 70 of these properties are built properties. I mean, these are properties with buildings on there.
You're talking about homes and
yes, residences.
Residences,
yes.
yeah.
I must say that within that 70, we have some 9 properties that are really derelict in nature, and almost tantamount to vacant properties, basically. So our major focus is really on the 60 remaining built properties. That is what we are actually concentrating on now in terms of negotiation and completion of negotiation. In total, though, we have completed on or about 95 negotiations, or completed negotiations with 95 property owners. 57.
And when you say concluded, you mean that there's been an agreed price?
An agreed price, yes.
And signed agreement.
Signed agreement, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I should just explain the negotiation process, what it entails.
Yeah.
Is really a discussion with each property owner or their agent with a view to come into some form of agreement in terms of the compensation that is to be paid to these owners. All right. Typically, particularly for the vacant plots, a negotiation would maybe run for about 15-20 minutes. We have observed that with the built properties and the sentimental value, the emotional value that the people place on these properties, that these usually take a little longer. So for the built properties, we have completed a total of 38 negotiations. These are signed and are ready to be presented to all of these have been presented for approval to the cabinet. Yeah.
So the government went through a process of compulsory acquisition.
Yes.
That's right. And then we allow for the negotiation to take place.
Yes.
Yeah.
I must say that there are stages and in the acquisition process. We as a team, we are guided by the Land Acquisition Act.
Yeah.
That is basically what we refer to as our Bible in terms of land acquisition. So first and foremost, we would have identified the landowners, written to the landowners to convey government interest in acquiring the land for the purpose, in our case, the international airport development. And that initial letter also gives us permission to enter onto the property of the landowner. Okay? There we would go, we would inspect the property, look at the features. For instance, if it's a vacant lot, we look at the access issues, whether it's accessible to services, the slope, the shape factor, the size, etc., etc. For the built properties, we would go in there, we would take a measurement of the building, look at the features of the building, and therefore we would assign a value to the building itself. I must also mention that there the cabinet had taken a decision to compensate based on replacement cost. What that method does in essence is that it allows, or whatever compensation that we agree to, that amount will, and sometimes during the negotiations I actually have to convince the building owners that can rebuild their homes. Obviously, what we find is that everybody try to receive maximum for the property.
There's nothing wrong with that, eh?
And there's nothing wrong with that. probably PM, I would have done the same thing myself.
That's right.
Yeah. But the negotiation is really a delicate process. Is something that has to be massaged properly. Sometimes we as negotiators, we actually feel the emotions. Like as though sometimes you feel like the emotional strain or stress is transferred onto the negotiators. It's like basically walking in the people's shoes.
Yeah.
All right?
Being empathetic.
Yes, because we have to understand that when a family lives in his home for 20, 30 years, it becomes difficult to part with the property. And sometimes, no matter how much you offer, you still get the negative feedback from the people. But
well, not negative, but emotional feedback.
Emotional feedback, yes, PM.
Emotional feedback, yeah.
But we are dedicated to the task. Yeah. We have deadlines that we are hoping to meet. So during the next coming week, we are really going to work at it frivolously, putting the extra effort in there so that we can achieve our goal of completing the negotiations.
So let's recap: 411 acres of land.
411 acres.
And 233 properties. 70
built
built properties, 9 of which are derelict.
9 are derelict.
And so it means that 61 are occupied.
60 thereabouts are occupied. Yes.
Occupied.
And the vacant lots number in about 100 and 163.
The vacant lots are 100 and
yes.
163. 63 vacant
Yes.
lots. And that would include agricultural lots.
That includes agriculture and residential.
Residential.
Yes.
Residential lots. Now, Marcus, I can call you Marcus. I've known you for a long time. I mean, since early 80s, so I can call you Marcus, right? I mean, let's talk about the property sizes, though, that we're looking at. The range that we've acquired.
Well, the range we have acquired, that, well, some of the residential lots, which the built properties, the lot sizes ranges from, for example, 2,500 square feet to 3,000 square feet, some of them 6,000. The amount varies when it comes to the residential lot.
Okay.
Regarding the agricultural lots acquired, there were property owners with large portions, so there were properties that we acquired, for example, 35 acres from one, another 40 from the other. But basically, the size of the properties ranges from 3 to 5 acres, generally.
Yeah.
Just to add to what Director, I see PM, you refer to him as Commissioner sometimes. Yeah. Director just said, at Eden Estate, for instance, I mean, a lot of the lots along the road, along the seaward side or the southeastern side of the roadway, these are very small lots. And like Director said, ranging in sizes of 2005, but most of them are 3,000, 4,000 square foot range. On the opposite side, you have larger lots on this side, and most of them are within the quarter acre range, 10,000 square feet, 12,000 square feet. The Eden Estate originally belonged to the Amors. All right? They are described as Eden on Sea and Eden on Land. So what we found, though, from the information that we gathered is that the lots on the land side, the Eden on Land side, are much larger than the lot sizes on the seaward side. Okay? And that's just to add to what Mr. Lestrade said. So we're looking at ranges from 3,000 to 6,000 on one side to 10,000, 20. As a matter of fact, there are lots, if I can recall, that are larger than an acre in size. Residential lots. Residential lots are larger than an acre in size.
Yeah.
So the lot size really varies.
Yeah. And I know one gentleman has a lot size about 30,000 square feet.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, he has his home on there.
Home on there, yes.
Okay. Now, what are the other challenges you faced in doing the negotiation, the negotiation process?
Okay. I think I can go with this one. A number of challenges. Yeah, there are a number of challenges. And I spoke to one of the major challenges earlier on when I referred to the emotional ties that the people have to their properties. The people are generally for the airport project. I don't think we have met one person that have said that, no, I don't want the airport. All right? But to part with their property, that's where the problem is. And that's what sometimes we find it stifles the negotiation process. Other issues that we have is that there is a general sense of doubt in the minds of the people as to whether the airport project will come to fruition. Obviously, Wesley, Marigot, and even Dominicans generally have been hearing about airport development for the past maybe 20, 25, 30 years. Or maybe
about 30 years?
Yes.
Or more, for sure.
Or more. So the people are doubtful. I usually say to the people, why should government go in there, acquire 233 properties, displace 70 residences, and not build an airport? Frankly speaking, it would be surprising to me as a negotiator. We all know that COVID-19 has affected almost every facet of society. And truth be told, it sometimes affects even the negotiations. Property owners have an affinity to their property. I have spoken to a number of persons who would be willing, otherwise than COVID, to come in to do their own negotiations face to face. I had an instance last week or 2 weeks ago where this guy say, we have to arrange a virtual meeting. So he can see my face, I can see his face, his sister can join, whoever can join, and so on. Some of the people are prepared to come, but then we all know of the quarantine protocols, and because of that, the persons are kind of reluctant.
So we prepare to facilitate them by the virtual means.
Definitely, Pierre. Definitely.
Good. Now,
Okay.
I want to say to the public, that once we received this report from the American firm, and we recognize that a significant number of homes would be impacted, where people are in fact residing, we were very careful not to proceed with acquisition until we were satisfied as a government that we would be in a position to successfully construct the airport, because we know of the past experience in 1998 when all this land was acquired and with no real plans to build the airport, and so this was a preoccupation of mine as the Prime Minister. Because how do you tell somebody I met an 83-year-old man and his wife, who has no problem with the airport, who is prepared to relocate, but he's 83 years old, retired. How do you tell the gentleman to move, if you're not serious about the airport? And so we understand the anxieties of people, and we respect that. But we've been, as you're hearing, been approaching the negotiations in a very sensitive and respectful manner, and see how we can facilitate the process as smoothly as possible. This is 411 acres of land we're acquiring for this project. Mr. Morvan, why do we need this sizable portion of land for an airport?
The objective, PM, is to construct an airport that is big enough to accommodate large aircrafts. Aircrafts will of a mixed fleet, ranging from the 777 series and smaller. Now, the field end requirement for those aircrafts is in excess of 7,000 feet. So we realize that these aircraft, the 777s, fit in the Code E according to ICAO standards. And for the Caribbean, most of the airports are built to accommodate Code E aircrafts. So it was best suited to build a 2,500-meter runway that would accommodate the aircraft safely, with additional lands for the runways and safety areas, which would bring it up to 3,100 feet. And then we would have also a terminal with a square meter of 7,200 square meters, and that is to accommodate projected passenger throughput of about 2 million by 2030. Also, we need to build 8 apron parking positions, and that would accommodate, that would require 47,000 square feet, 47,000 square meters to accommodate those 8 apron parking for these large aircrafts. It's not possible to cluster those aircrafts like cars, because aircraft have wings, and the 777 aircraft, the wing span is about 61 meters. So you can well appreciate the distance you would have to park those aircraft from each other to avoid the wing clipping wings of one aircraft clipping the other. We also need to fortify this facility with a Category 9 aircraft rescue and firefighting facility. The ATC, the traffic control tower, 400 square meters of maintenance area, because you have continuous maintenance going on at the airport. The objective is to prevent anything that would possibly adversely affect the airport operations. So you need the maintenance facility well equipped to do continuous maintenance at the airport. Then we have a 10,000 square meter of general aviation reserve, that is for non-scheduled flights, private jets, corporate jets, and cargo facility. Then we have a fuel farm, because aircrafts of that magnitude would require a large amount of fuel, thousands of pounds if you have to do transatlantic flight, because the objective is to have direct connections between Dominica and London, Dominica, Paris, Dominica, Canada, instead of having to fly to Barbados, and then we want to reverse it. So
Hold, Marvin, let me get a call, please. Caller, please, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Procurator.
Yes, sir, good evening to you.
What's happening?
I'm well, thanks, sir.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Your topic is not what I really want to talk about. I just want to ask you a question. It's about that housing thing for Mr. Chibu.
Well, I can't speak about that now. You may have to call me otherwise. We're talking about the international airport, so you'll have to find a means of making contact with me or the Minister for Housing on this, okay? Okay. Yes, Marvin.
Okay, and we also need to have accommodation for vehicle parking area and utilities, restaurant, cafe, diners, duty-free shopping, and other landscaping, etc. So that is why we need that vast amount of land to construct this facility. Although we are certainly the last country within the Caribbean to construct an airport of that size, but we want to make sure that we are better than the rest.
So now the runway is 2,500 meters.
From threshold to threshold.
Yeah, and so that will accommodate the large aircrafts.
That's correct.
Right. And of course, as I understand it, there is an additional space that you require. What's that for, and how long would that be?
Okay, the runway safety and area is additional lands at the various ends of the runway, of the threshold. The threshold will be the area where the aircraft touches down. You can recognize it by seeing the numbers which designate the alignment of the runway. In that case, the alignment would be 13 to 31. That would be 130 degrees and 310 degrees. So beyond that, you have 150 meter on both ends added to that for in the event of an aircraft overshooting the runway. So that would create additional space for stopping the aircraft adequately before, with minimum damage.
And yeah, go ahead, please.
And at the end of this, we will have provisions for the instrument approach lighting systems.
Okay. And we would have to have a realignment of the existing road, a section of the existing road.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the runway runs from a southeast to a northwest direction, and that passes right through the major thoroughfare from Wesley, or the eastern part of Wesley, to Kalibishi and to Portsmouth. So that area would have to be cut off. So there is a need for the realignment of the road to access Whitford Hill from.
And my understanding is that there are two recommended options to this.
That's correct.
That you build a tunnel under the runway.
That is correct.
And then you build a diversion. That's correct.
Yes.
Outside of the airport precincts or premises.
Right.
And my understanding is that the government has decided to go with the tunnel.
That is correct,
Yeah.
and that's maybe the first tunnel in Dominica.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the realignment of the road along the airport facility into Whitford Hill. At some point towards the end of the runway, there is a deep gouge, and it will be very expensive to construct a bridge. So the other option would be the tunnel, which would be along Eden Road, and that would be the best option for the government.
Now, just to say to the listening and viewing public that the original concept for the airport did not include a hospital or a health center. But having experienced the pandemic, COVID-19, and the need for us to have special designated facilities at the airports and to facilitate passengers coming in, visitors coming in, and to ensure that we can implement and adhere to the guidelines and the protocols, the government has taken a decision to construct a small hospital as part of the project in the event that we are faced with a similar pandemic and we have to isolate tourists or visitors coming in, or even airport staff, and so we are in fact having this as part of the project. We have a caller, please. Hello. Caller, the call is breaking up. I'm not sure you're calling. I'm not sure how you're getting, but please call back. Call back. You're breaking up. I think the issue is on your end, not on our end. Okay. Any other additional information, Marvin, you want to do?
Yes, PM. The idea of constructing an airport and constructing a hospital within the airport facility is a brilliant one. Because when I studied in Singapore way back in 1990, there was an airport hospital. So even notwithstanding the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic, I think it's a brilliant idea to include a hospital facility at the airport.
Thank you. Okay. And the other point is in respect to the plans for resettlement. I mean, we spoke about some 69 or so, 61 people will be affected. People who have homes and people who have farms, and those farms will be impacted. What are the plans in place for the resettlement of displaced people, and what progress we have made? Marcus, you want to?
Yeah, I'll do it. Well, resettlement of the affected resident is a priority. We cannot put them on the streets and start an airport, so we have to relocate it. So what we have done, we have identified lands in the Jubuton area. Well, that area was identified by the affected residents as the preferred location for relocation. So what we have done since, we have prepared a subdivision plan. With an original amount of 52 residential lots. These lots range from 7,000 square feet to some of them 11,000 square feet. There's another section with lots which range from 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. As you would there are a number of landowners who request land swaps, land and building swaps. So what we have done, the larger lots.
So Marcus, just to help, just to interject, the people who've asked for land for land. So we're acquiring somebody's land, right? And they're asking for land in exchange. So
Land
agriculture. And there are people who would like to get a home in exchange for a home being acquired.
Yes.
That's correct. And then there are people who want cash for their land. They just want the cash, and they'll build their own homes and so forth. And the government has also agreed to, for residential purposes, if you do not want to build a home, if you don't want the government to build a home for you, we'll give you the lot to build that home. That's correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And the lands that are being used are lands that were acquired in 1998 for the airport.
For the airport. So basically those lands are lands that were acquired for the previous airport.
In 1998.
In 1998. So the area where we have identified, it was already identified for residential purposes prior to the acquisition of the
airport.
Of the first airport. Yeah. Okay, so back to the allocation of the lots. The people who opt for land swap, we would allocate the lands to them, and they would have the option to build their own house, or if they choose for us, we build. Mm-hmm. But most of the lots that we are giving those who opt for the land swaps are, for example, almost 3 times the size of the existing lots. Mm-hmm. And some of those lots, in most instances, we don't give value for value. We just give land. We just give, for example, some of the landowners who have 3,000 square feet, most of them will benefit from a lot that's about 8,000 to 9,000 square feet. And the reason for that was, as you know, the Westie people, a lot of them do backyard gardening. So allowance was made for most of those lots of the people being relocated to do backyard gardening.
Hold on, please, Marcus. Let's get a caller, please. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, PM.
Yes, good evening to you.
And the gentleman who is there with you.
Yeah, good evening.
I just want to ask a question. How long is the tunnel? Did you get my question?
Yes, thank you.
PM?
Yes, thank you very much. We got it.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Okay.
The tunnel is going to be in excess of 330 meters, just a little over that because it's going to pass right through underneath the runway. And the fencing and around the perimeter of the runway, the width is 333 meters. So the tunnel will be in excess of that.
Just to say to the viewers, unfortunately, those of us following by radio will not be able to see it, but we'll hear the sound of it. We will show a short video of the concept for the airport towards the end of my engagement with the three distinguished public officers. Okay, but as Mr. Morvan is saying, the tunnel will be 330.
In excess of 333 meters.
In excess of 333 meters because it has to be end to end.
That's correct.
Okay, that's end to end. Okay. All right, Marcus, please.
Yeah, so as we said, the lots will be
So lot-wise, the people would be better off
definitely, basically
tomorrow
it's-
morning than they will.
Yes,
today.
because it's like getting land for free.
Okay.
Indirectly, you could
Yeah.
consider, I mean,
Yeah. So somebody who the government requiring 3,000 square feet now could get a 7,000.
not could. They are
They're
getting
getting.
a lot
They are
at
getting
7,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So, but there are lots that are within range of 5,000 square feet. As you know, well, as we understand, there are some people, for example, you'd find a lot with one property owner, but with like 4 houses or 4 different families living
I
in
see.
it. So based on that now, as you know, there must be an aspect of social housing
Yeah.
in the relocation.
Yeah.
So we have identified those lots, which that's about 23 of them. That's basically for the social housing and whatever. We have also made an additional allowance for about 26 lots. That would be for example, as you know, the construction of the airport will bring people. So there will be people who might want a lot to purchase.
Yeah.
So we also make allowance for
this.
this.
Yeah.
And just to let the general public know that this development will be resilient. It will be similar to what we have done in the New Petit Savon in Belvish area, where all utilities and facilities will be underground.
And we're not, just to say to the public, we're not only building for those who are affected, but we'll also be building for other people in Wesley who are in need of housing.
Definitely.
And likewise in Woodfordale as well. We are going to build some residences in Woodfordale to provide housing for the folks in Woodfordale and Palm Tree. Palm Tree is a community I don't want to forget. It's a wonderful place. We have a caller, please. Hello.
Yes, sure, President Evelyn. I would like to ask if tonight is only based on the international airport.
This part of the program, yes. I will be on later for the second part, and you are free to call me on any matter you want to ask the Prime Minister on. Okay? So at the end of this segment, I will be here, and you're free to ask any question you wish. But for now, we're discussing the airport. Now, Lloyd, so the government is designing and building those residences?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedrooms?
Okay. Just before I respond directly
Yeah.
here, let me just piggyback on what Mr. mentioned.
Sure.
What we have been, and like we said earlier, that the landowners will be better off in terms of both land size and value. All right. What I've been observing though what I've been observing of late is that quite a number of the vacant lot owners are opting for direct land swap. because they realize that the deal is a much better deal than accepting the cash anyway for the land. So that is a plus for the affected residents, I must say. Sometimes we don't like to use the word social housing. Let's just say housing. Quite a number of persons who and director said earlier that, for instance, we have this lot. It's quite a large lot, and family members, everybody build a little stuff on there, and we have about 8 buildings on that lot. Some of them are complete, some of them are partially completed, and so on. So, government, for its social responsibility, may have to come in, to assist some of the persons, and that again is a better off option. Okay. In terms of the housing development at Joe Burton Estate, we are looking at least 4 different models. So we are looking at the 2-bedroom bungalow, and that 2-bedroom is fitted with 2 bathrooms. We also have the 3-bedroom bungalow option, and then we also have the another class of the 3-bedroom, similar to the townhouse option, where you have 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, your kitchen, living room, dining room, front balcony, rear balcony, back balcony. And we have a similar 4-bedroom option, similar to that 3-bedroom. Okay? I'm not sure if I should speak to the value of those units. It might be a bit premature, but I can say that these buildings will be resilient buildings under the whole theme of resilience. These will be reinforced concrete buildings with reinforced concrete roof, clad with corrugated sheetings for aesthetics, similar to what has been done at Bellevue Chopin. So we are at least trying to fall into that resilient theme. We have been pushing that since Hurricane Maria, and no doubt that will be replicated in the Wesley development, the relocation development. Going back to the 70, I was looking at some data that was collected post Hurricane Maria, and for some of the people who think that the greater part of Wesley will be cut off, I was looking at some data, because post Maria we conducted what we call a building damage assessment, and for the community of Wesley, when we did the count in Wesley in terms of the buildings that were severely damaged, with minimal damage, no damage at all, the total amount of buildings in Wesley at that time was at about 595. For the international airport project, only 70 buildings will be, well, actually 60 buildings will be directly impacted. So I just want to say that just for emphasis in terms of the numbers and so on.
Now, Marcus, this is for those with homes. Now you have farming, agricultural lands. What provisions is the government making?
So as you know, we have land that was acquired for the previous airport and estate lands. So we are putting into use for airport development. So what we have done, we have identified, originally we had identified 150 acres, but now the amount was up to 280 acres. Okay. So what we have done, we did a subdivision design, it comprising of about 54 agricultural lots with a couple green areas, and well, those lots range from, let's say, 2.5 acres, some up to 5 acres. The purpose of the lot sizes was to ensure that we didn't just give anybody excess land that they will they would not really require. And also to make allowance for additional farmers who are not being affected by the airport development, that they could apply to this. As you know, we are going to be impacted on some agricultural land, so we must maintain the food security.
Sure.
Especially, well, the Wesley people are very productive when it comes to farming. So, as indicated, we have 2.5 to 3 acres, then 5 acres. But in case somebody wants a larger plot or qualify for a larger plot, then we could give them 3 adjoining properties, so it would total 6 acres. So as indicated, we have land ready to be allocated to the farmers. All the lands are accessible by motorable roads. The subdivision has been done. As a matter of fact, we already surveyed at least 5 of the lots, agricultural lots, so we were on the way to take care of the farmers as we are to relocation.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a phone call, please. Hello? Okay. Now, the Wesley High School is in the vicinity of the international airport. The Wesley Primary School. The Wesley Primary School is in the vicinity of the international airport. Will that school be relocated, though?
The Wesley Primary School will not be directly impacted at this time. However, to address the noise pollution, because it's traveling along the fence line, one option could be to render the building soundproof. But because of the age of the building, it would be advisable for government to consider building a new school and relocating it to address the noise pollution. So that would be the better option for government at this time.
So it is not part of the consideration in terms of the 411 acres.
No,
but it is in close proximity to the airport, and there will be a concern with noise pollution, noise affecting the conducting of classes. And so there are 2 recommendations. One is to soundproof the building, and the other is to relocate. And the preferred option is to relocate. I personally agree with this. I mean, I have been to the Wesley School. It's an old school, and I think if we build a new airport, we're building new homes, new roads. I think the parent will be very happy to have a brand new school. So I think I prefer to go with the second option of building a brand new school. And of course we have land.
I was just about to mention that we have adequate land suitable for the purpose, so the land is not really an issue.
Yeah, because in any event, this school would have to be replaced in the next 5 or so years anyway.
That's correct.
Because of the condition of it. Okay, good. So I wanted to clarify this point for the public. Now, we could not have avoided the displacement of these people. Is that correct, Marvin?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Yeah, if we're to get the proper alignment, approach, etc.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Any other site that would not affect these residents would make it difficult for certification.
I see.
Because certification requirement for aircraft operation by ICAO is mandatory, and pilots would not want to, or operators of aircraft would rather not have the aircraft operate into a field that would be considered dangerous, and dangerous in terms of terrain obstructions due to the catastrophic situation that could result as a result of operations into those airports.
I see. Telephone call, please. Good night. Good evening.
Good evening, good night. I hope this does not take us too far back from the relocation discussion. But good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, PM.
Good evening.
I just wanted to know when the 411 acres are cleared, you would be removing or shifting soil, tree and plant life, a significant amount of rock or stone. What are we going to do to this very useful material? Thank you very much.
Very important question. I leave it to Mr. Marvin to respond to you.
Okay, the site is filled with gorges, valleys, and hills. So most of the soil that we'll be cutting will be used for filling, because we have to level the site to a height of about 38 meters above sea level.
So there's a lot of cut and fill.
There's a lot of cut and fill. The highest elevation is 68 meters, and the lowest peak is 42 meters. So we want to get everything leveled at about 38 meters. Now, between those peaks, we have deep valleys, about 5 of them, which will require quite a lot of filling. So most of the soil will be used for that.
Okay. So we're going to have use for most, if not all of the material.
If not all of the material.
In the area.
And we're hoping that we would, the possibility of importing materials to incur additional costs would not be,
Not be,
would
not be an issue. Okay. But very good question there. Now, we have a deadline for the handing over of the site. First, of course, the government needs to have full control of the site, and then handing over the site to the developer to get the airport ready. Will we meet the deadline given by the Prime Minister?
Well, I would say yes, we will, we will meet the deadline.
Yeah.
But as you know, the airport development there are phases in the airport construction.
Yeah.
So we have 3 sections of the site. Well, there's the northwestern section, which is basically undeveloped and vacant agricultural land. There's the southeastern end, that's in the Baptist area and Walker's Rest, that's also vacant. And then there's the section along Eden Road, Bottom Wesley, which is basically developed.
Okay.
So the intention is to hand over the site to the contractor. But as you know, we will not put anybody on the streets.
Yeah.
So because of the nature of the work and the works that have to be done, there will be a grace period for example, the developed properties for, let's say, about 8 to 10 months, which is would be the estimated construction time for a reasonable residential building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the intention is to actually hand over the site to the developer as indicated by the government,
Yeah.
and in those phases.
So if we do not need somebody's home right away, the person will not be asked to leave right away.
No.
The person will stay there until you will need it. Yes. And if that person opted for a home in exchange and that house is not ready, then my understanding is that we will provide the person with a rental allowance that would facilitate the person renting a place while you wait for this home to be completed. Yeah. So the whole intention is to facilitate these people as far as reasonably possible and within the confines of the law. Okay.
Just to add to what you said, they would still have the 8 to 10 months grace period. So that would come in after. If that period expires.
Okay, after. We have another call, please. Caller, please. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
This is a good evening to you, and good evening, Honorable Prime Minister.
Good evening to you, sir. Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about the project, and it's how important it is to have all the projects that will facilitate it and synergistically and help to develop it and support it to be ongoing. So when it is complete, these will also be complete as well. You know, and I was so happy to be talking about a hospital, because that was one of the projects I had proposed in exchange for land, a piece of land that I could do a small health facility, including hyperbaric medicine, which my son was just about to graduate from medical school, and my son, who was with the doctors, and we both into the hyperbaric medicine. He's thinking of getting into orthopedics, and even for the for the COVID, this is something new, such as is coming in so wonderful now that the hyperbaric medicine is not only good for treating the COVID patients, being non-invasive, but also is also very good for the post-COVID recuperation patients, where that can facilitate tourism aspect. If people want to come for health and wellness after they've been infected with COVID, they're no longer infectious. They are immune to it, but they have what they call the long hauler syndrome, where they need to recover somewhere in a tropical environment where it's nice and warm and conducive to them, like Dominica, conducive to their improvement in their health. My daughter is also in a second year of architecture, and she's so excited about the whole thing because she's thinking of developing a project that will be conducive to or synergistic with the whole airport development project, you know. So all these things are there. I'm also an agriculturist myself. But the thing is that over the past 10 or 15 years, we've been here at the airport. So I have not done anything, well, besides my 3 crops, which got damaged in the hurricane. But as far as development in terms of buildings, I have not been able to do on the land because I'm saying that it makes sense building something when our airport is going to come and destroy it. So I'm just wondering if it's possible that to facilitate the next change. Because I've been since about June. I've been trying to contact with the gentlemen on the panel. Not getting much response from them, but I suppose they're very busy. Yeah. But you know that we could still work synergistically. Something that could create development, create employment, and as you rightfully said, I'm trying to entice my children to come back to Dominica. All 4 of them will be educated. My first is just finished doing his film production, so I'll have to be starting development in Dominica. The other thing is also, the project I'm proposing is COVID friendly in terms is not mass gathering, but more the more isolated type of water sports and that type of thing that we can do to the proposed exchange and I'm offering for my future land. Sure. But I'm very happy that this is thing, and I'm very excited about it because I was also concerned about access, and as you spoke about the channel, I was wondering how I would get access to that, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And of course, you know, I mean, this hospital will be there. It won't be necessarily in use every day. So I believe that the government will be very much inclined in discussing with you if you indicate that you would like to put such facility in this part of Dominica, and so we're prepared to discuss with you and to see what kind of working arrangement that the government would have with you. I am certainly not opposed to this at all, because if we're building it in the event we have to deal with a pandemic, and so if it can be used for the benefit of the public 365 days of the year, then power to the people of Dominica, and certainly we're prepared to engage you, Dr. Armour, on this. Now, Marvin, based on your experience in aviation safety, I mean, what are some of the immediate considerations, though, for us as we forge ahead with this very important project?
Okay, we should ensure that we construct the international airport in accordance with ICAO 14, the standard and recommended practices as outlined by ICAO.
ICAO 14?
Annex 14.
Annex 14.
Mm-hmm. And the supporting documents, to which would deal with the various airport planning, licensing, and guidelines for all the facilities and stuff like this. At every stage of the project,
And let's just say that we have made formal contact with ICAO, and also the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, and they've asked us for certain documents, some of which I believe we have transmitted to them. So we've been in contact with them because we would like to ensure that at every step of the way, these 2 very important regulatory entities are part of the process to ensure the safety of this airport.
Right. So I was just recommending that prior to the start of any phase and towards the end of any phase of the project, that we consult with them and we engage them so that we would not have to be duplicating any works, because this is very expensive, a very expensive venture, and to duplicate the process would incur a lot of additional costs.
Okay, so the key there is safety, and Charles.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lloyd, as you said earlier, we have successfully negotiated with several property owners in the West Woodfordville Palm Tree, Eden communities. What is the next step in this process of for government's negotiating team?
Okay. As it is now, we have not fully completed negotiations. So definitely, the next big step for us is to complete the negotiations. And that would allow the handing over of an unencumbered site to the developer. Right? We have in the interest of speeding up the whole negotiation process, the cabinet have approved the use of additional negotiators. So we have an additional 5 or 6 negotiators. So with time, we think that we can complete the negotiations. Obviously, and one of the problems that we are faced with is the fact that there are a number of landowners that resides out of state. My last count, we had from the 233, there were like 102 landowners that reside overseas. We have made contact with about 70 of those. We still have another 31 landowners that we have not contacted, and I can use this medium to just urge them to at best get in contact with us. There's an announcement that's out there. You can get in contact with me directly. My number is 611-3720. So for at least the 31 landowners that we have not contacted, we would certainly like to make contact and conduct negotiations with them.
Okay, excellent. Any other final points I missed that you believe important to share with the public at this stage? Now, while you contemplate on this, Marvin, can you quickly tell the public, because we're talking about 2,500 meters, and we're talking about planes can come from the UK and from France and from the United States. Can you tell the public what type of aircrafts we're talking about?
Okay, so for those who are familiar with the various types of aircraft, the 2,500 meter runway would be able to accommodate aircrafts like the Boeing 737-400 series, the 737-800 series, the Boeing 767-300ER, that is, and the Boeing 777-200ER. Also the Boeing 787-800, we'll be able to accommodate these two aircrafts, the 777-200 and the 787. These are wide-body aircrafts, and they'll be able to operate into this airport at 2,500 meters at a max payload of 88% for the 777 and 77% for the 787. Also, the 767ER-300 will be able to operate with 63% of payload. And the reason for this is the field and requirement for those aircrafts are a little more critical than the 2,500 meters. So for them to operate safely, they would have to reduce on the payload. But the other narrow bodies like the Airbus A319 and the A320, you'll have 100% payload operations through this on this runway. And like I said before, so the 737-700, the 737-800, and the 767-300ER will also operate at 100% max payload.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
I think somebody, some person asked a question
Via WhatsApp, yes. Yeah.
Via WhatsApp. Just to address this,
hold on, Marvin. Let me get a call and I'll get you to respond to this WhatsApp message. Hello, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hello, PM. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Welcome.
I'm calling you from Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Good.
Question for you. Is there going to be a second runway as a backup runway?
Okay. Go ahead, Marvin. You want to respond?
Not at this time. That is considered for future development, but at this present time there is no. And let me just clarify this: the airstrip is one airstrip but two runways. That means you utilize one runway from one end. That is why you have it designated as 130 degrees or 13, runway 13, and the other end 310 or runway 31. So we have two runways on that airstrip. One airstrip, two runways. So if you're asking about an additional backup airstrip, the answer is not at this time.
You were responding to the WhatsApp question.
Yes, somebody questioned as it relates to private aircraft or private jet parking around Christmas time. And they mentioned 8 jet bridges. The runway is designed for mixed fleet, and the 8 jet bridges are for the wide and narrow body aircrafts. So we can have 8 jet parking at any one time, but that doesn't prevent parking for the smaller aircrafts like the ATR-42s and the Saab, which is currently servicing at Douglas Charles. The private jets, there's a separate parking for the private jets. So yes, it is possible to accommodate private jets parking around Christmas time. At this facility, we'll also have a FBO, a fixed base operation. So for private jets, the fixed base operation is specifically to accommodate private jets. So the billionaires who wants to come in at Christmas time and park the jets, you just have to come, go to the FBO and go for customs, and the FBO will take care of all the
Everything.
Operations as it relates to the accommodation at the airport for the aircraft.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Lloyd?
Okay, just one additional comment. I know a number of farmers, particularly small farmers, have been asking, Mr. Lloyd, when are they going to assess my farm? I have a backyard garden, or am I going to get paid for my produce and so on? Let me just allay the concerns that at present we have a team on the ground conducting crop assessments, so you all will be covered, because at the end of the day, all farmers will be compensated for their produce. We had done an initial assessment of some 47 farmers. That has been completed. 80% of these farmers have been paid. We have a balance of somewhere just over 40 farmers that we are dealing with now. Most of them are really backyard farmers.
Yeah.
So rest assured that you will be compensated for your crops, whether permanent or short term.
And because I believe we engage we outsource.
We outsource
So we have
a consultant.
Consultant helping us with that acquisition.
Yes.
That valuation.
Valuation, yes.
Excellent. Any final words, gentlemen?
Well, I would definitely like to thank the Wesley people, especially those affected by the airport for their cooperation. They have been very cooperative as it relates to accepting that the airport is coming, although some of them are still in doubt, but we can assure you that the airport is coming, and we'll do our best to make sure that you are not worse off than you are. Thanks for your cooperation.
Yes. And of course, I want to go ahead.
I also want to echo that sentiment, because we've been receiving tremendous cooperation from the Wesley people as it relates to the negotiation and the slight doubt but acceptance of the airport project. So the Wesley people, we want to see, as part of the negotiating team, we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to you.
I think the plus for us as a negotiating team is that we have created that camaraderie between ourselves and particularly the affected persons. Okay, so I can say to them that we're there every day of the week. Basically, they can feel free to come in, ask whatever questions they want to ask, whatever concerns they have. They can come in and talk to us. We are there to help you.
But thank you. I want to personally thank all of you, 3 of you here, and of course all of the other people who have been working assiduously on this project. I know I push you guys every single day, but you guys have been very respectful and very responsive to the demands that have been placed on you. But and I must say to the public, you know, we have some very conscientious, committed patriots within the public service. You know, all of these gentlemen, they don't watch the clock, and they do not check which day of the week. Except, you know, Marvin is a lay minister, so, you know, you have to make sure that he but they're there. We have the permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, Mrs. Missy Henderson. We have Dr. John Colley McIntyre, who is the coordinator on the special projects in my office, in the office of the Prime Minister. We have the financial secretary who's been very helpful in facilitating. We have the permanent secretaries of the various ministries. We have the ministers who are in the ministerial committee. We have a technical team, but we also have 8 other teams working on various components of the airport, and people are already pushing to get this project that has been elusive for so many decades, and I really look forward to the day when we can say, thank God, it is completed. But by the grace of God, it will happen. We are on our way, and we continue to trust in the Lord, and the Lord will certainly give it to us. Just to share with you some of the key elements of the design plan: the runway, the apron, the jet bridges, the air traffic control tower, the terminal building. We have the medical facility / the hospital, customs and immigration, etc., etc. We have the civil defense, including rescue and fire services, including residences for the fire and rescue people. We have the maintenance area, we have parking, we have the fuel farm, security. We'll have opportunities for restaurants and shopping. We have a special VIP lounge, so that those of you who do not want to go in the regular line, and you pay a fee, and you can get someone to take your passport and to clear you and to see you through. And of course, we have facilities for private jets. There'll be some major roadworks from the northern, that's the Portsmouth end, as well as from the southern, southeast Marigot end. We have a roundabout concept before the airport entrance, which you will see on the video, and then we have the tunnel along the Eden Road, and I see, and then we also have the pilot restroom. That's right, pilot restroom, and we're trying to ensure that we get it as right as possible, as correct as possible, because we're building for the future. We're already building for the future, and so we're taking very due cognizance and care on this. But I give you the assurance that we're working on this on a daily basis. I had meetings this morning on this airport. The other thing that we'll be doing in this week, we will be setting up the International Airport Development Company, and the government will delegate the construction of the airport to that company, and so to give focus to the construction of the airport. That company will also have a board of directors, and we will have a wide cross-section of the Dominican society represented on this board. We're about 15, 16 members. You're talking about reps from the private sector, representatives from utility companies, Domlec, Duwasco. We're talking about public officers. We're talking about local airline reps. We're talking about DASPA, reps from the DHTA, the DIC, and other groups within the society. So we're trying to ensure that, and of course there'll be somebody representing the local community of West, the Woodfordale, Palm Tree area. So the whole idea is to engage a wide cross-section of society to be part of this process, to give oversight to this project, and to assist with its engagement. We also will be appointing a CEO, and of course in that company you will have engineers, you will have an accountant, financial controller, and other staff that will be required. Some of the things we're doing, we'll have on-site a soil lab, soil testing lab, and the idea is to recruit maybe about 10 or 15 young Dominicans who can work in this lab and to understudy what's happening. So and to gain the experience so that we can get more trained people who can now run our national lab, because all of this equipment will come to the state once the airport is completed. We will have a process where heavy equipment owners can register their equipment to indicate to us whatever equipment they have, so that we can make use of them. Also, truck drivers will give an opportunity so you can register, so that we can engage. We will be setting up a whole enterprise in Wesley Woodford at the airport site to provide that level of contact and focus on this. We'll be also finally, in the coming days, we will be finalizing some key agreements, the geotechnical studies, the wind data studies, and the environmental impact assessment and the hydraulic studies. All those things will be finalized. And as indicated by the gentleman here, they're pushing very hard to have all negotiations completed within the stipulated time. And we're looking forward to the commencement of the construction of the 50 homes in the first instance at Joe Burton. So this is in a nutshell based on all of what the gentlemen have said to us tonight. And the intention is for us to continue sharing with you that information and to keep you fully informed. We will be setting up a Facebook page. We will be setting up a website so that people can be kept up to date with what's happening on the airport. You can also put forward suggestions and ideas. We will share with the public, and some of the video which you will see are not final. So even with regards to the design of the terminal building, these things will be shared with stakeholders so that we can get inputs on this, and we can have a Dominica type, Dominica friendly terminal building, that can mirror our taste and our aesthetics in our country, and take into consideration our environmental considerations, recognizing that we're seeking to build a resilient country, the environment being at the center of all that we do. So there'll be huge opportunities there for the private sector. Even, for example, once the airport is completed, the running of the private VIP lounges and so on, the shops and the restaurants, so there'll be huge opportunities there for the private sector, and of course we look forward to engaging all. The idea is to be as transparent as possible and to be informing as possible, and this is what it is. So anybody who has a concern, reach out to the government. Let us not go out and say things that are not factual, or things that we have not researched, or things that we have not sought clarification to. If we all say we support the airport, if we don't support the airport, you can continue what you're doing. But if you support it, let us get educated on this. Let us get informed by people who know, who may have the information. Let us give them the opportunity to educate us and inform us. Again, I cannot stop thanking the residents of Wesley, Woodford, and Palmtree, who have been exceptional in their willingness to give up the properties. I said on Friday, I met a gentleman and his wife, Mr. Williams, and I think I have the authority, or the permission rather, to call his name. He's 83 years old, came back and he's comfortable in his residence, and we've asked him to relocate. He has no difficulty in relocating, but for 83 years old, you understand his anxiety of having to relocate at his age. So we're very grateful to people like him and to so many others who understand the importance of this project, and who have anxieties, who have their own issues of relocating, but are prepared to do so for the greater good of the country, and of course to the benefit of their children and succeeding generations of this country. This project is critical to us. It is, the government has invested heavily in the infrastructure, in the health infrastructure, in the education infrastructure, in agriculture infrastructure, in the tourism sector with hotel rooms and the expansion of that sector. And for us to be able to sustain those investments, for us to be able to create better opportunities and more opportunities for so many of our young people that we have sent to university, we believe that this airport will assist us in Dominica in our efforts to realizing this ambition. And I give my full commitment to it. It preoccupies a lot of my time because I believe, and based on what all of us have understood in this country, that this is our moment. And I am saying that, you know, I happen to have gone to church this morning. I went to visit a church building and I got the service going on, so I happened to have been part of the service. And the pastor read from Genesis, and he was referencing the moment, you know, that we have to seize the moment, and everything happens at its own particular time. And I think this is our moment to seize this airport and to get it going and to put our collective efforts to make it happen. And let us be constructive for suggestions, be constructive for criticisms, but recognize that we have to seize the moment. And I am holding this project very tight in my hands to ensure that it can happen. So again, I want to thank you. I will take a break and I will come back for the closing segment. During the break, we will show a short video of what we believe the end product may look like. Obviously, it is work in progress and there will be changes here and changes there, but you will have a general appreciation of what the government is looking at in respect to this international airport. Thank you. I shall be back with you in a few minutes' time. Thank you very much. designs, to appreciate it. I first, of course, want to comment on the recently concluded or held general elections in the great nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to again congratulate my comrade and friend, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves and the Unity Labour Party for an unprecedented fifth consecutive term as the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I have been a student of Ralph Gonsalves for a very long time. You know, as you know, he was a very close friend of Rosie Douglas. And so back in primary school, I would listen to speeches from Ralph Gonsalves and Rosie Douglas and Mike Douglas and Eugenia Charles, and also George Odlum of St. Lucia. I have had the great privilege of sitting alongside Prime Minister Gonsalves for a very long time now, 20 or so years, as in government, you know, and because we came into government in early 2000, he came in 2001, I believe, and so since 2001 we have been sitting alongside, and we do not disagree. I don't think we disagree on anything, and if we disagree on anything, we agree to respectfully disagree on the points. But we share many principled positions, especially in the international community and on matters of injustice and the world over, and I really look forward to working with him. I dare say, you know, that the contributions and the presence of Ralph Gonsalves, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, to the Caribbean is exceptional, and his continued presence on the leadership scene of the Caribbean is important, especially at this time. You know, his understanding of things and his contribution is really appreciated, and the relations between Dominica and St. Vincent continues to be at its best. We have excellent relations. We share ideas, we share views, we share resources, and I am certainly personally elated for his success, and of course on behalf of my own party, the Dominica Labour Party, and the government and people of Dominica, we congratulate him and congratulate the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we look forward to working with him on a bilateral basis, but also on a multilateral level at the CARICOM, at the OECS, and beyond. But this is a gentleman who truly cares for people, who is empathetic to people's challenges, who understands the role of government in educating its people, as we, and many of the things that we do here in Dominica, they are done in St. Vincent, because in large measure, ideologically and philosophically, we share the same space, and we have both been criticized heavily for doing these things, for educating people, for building homes for people, for taking care of the vulnerable, the elderly in our society. We've been accused of giving people handouts, but we see it differently. We see it as giving people a hand up, and we will not be deterred by those criticisms, because we both recognize that we're here on earth carrying out the services on behalf of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so we congratulate Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the Unity Labour Party for a fifth consecutive term. I think he calls himself now the five-star general. And I will add the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the comrade, Comrade Gonsalves. And of course, he has his beautiful wife from Dominica, and so that is another reason why the affinity between our two countries is even stronger and more profound at the leadership level, and of course at the people-to-people level. And I look forward to to continue working with Prime Minister Gonzalez. We also had the U.S. elections, and I had the opportunity to extend congratulations on my personal behalf, but of course on the behalf of the government of Dominica and the people of Dominica, to President-elect Mr. Joseph Biden, and of course the Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. This is a challenging time for all world leaders, including the leadership of the United States, and we look forward to working closely with the administration. The U.S. and Dominica and the Caribbean, we share many similar principles and concerns, but it's a matter for us to continue to work in a mutually respectful environment for the greater good of society. The U.S. has been good to Dominica and Dominicans, allowing so many of us to be educated in the United States and to call the United States of America our home, taking advantage of the opportunities which exist there. And so we have a lot to thank the U.S. people for, and we wish them well. We will continue to work with them on issues which confront us as a society, as a community, as a world, and of course we stand in continual solidarity with the United States. We don't always agree, but we don't agree at our homes with family. So, but we respect each other, and that is important. This week coming, as I said, we will continue to forge ahead with the airport project and so many other very important interventions. Just to say that the completed health centers, as far as I've been advised, are now furnished and equipped. The equipment are here, and some of them have been placed in these facilities. And very soon the Ministry of Health will indicate the dates for the commissioning of those health centers in Vegas, in Portsmouth, in Maho, in Wesley, and in Bellevue-Chopin. So these health centers are completed, and then we have another set under construction. Marigot instead of Wesley. Wesley is completed very soon. So Marigot will be fully furnished, and then we will have Wesley very soon, towards the end of this year. Bacatel will also be completed very soon. We have Ansdeme well on its way. We have Corlejo, long awaited, on its way. And I want to thank the Lord Bishop for his willingness to allow us to make use of this of the church land. Very graciously made us allow us to make use of it, and we're grateful to the Catholic Church for this. Had it not been for that, it would be difficult to find a location for the health center in Wesley. We should see work on the Newtown, the Soufriere Health Center, and Penville is part of the second group that will be completed this year, along with Wesley. And then we have two resource centers, one in Trafalgar and also one in Vegas, that will be commissioned towards the end of this month, first week of December. Just to say, in respect to the Maho School, Maho Primary School, you would know that the decision has been taken to construct a new school instead of repairs to the existing one. I have seen the draft designs for the school. I'm hoping that we can move to finalizing it, because I would like for this school to be ready for September of 2021. I think we can push it and get it ready for that date. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on this. I'm hoping that we can commission the indoor basketball court in Massac sometime in December. So we're going to push to have this completed. And so the number of positive things happening in the country, and we look forward to continued efforts. We have been in communication with the government of the People's Republic of China on the schools, the 5 schools which the Chinese government has agreed to construct. They'll be sending a team here very soon. Obviously, there are challenges with the lockdowns at some of the airports and the the protocols that are required to be met in some of the airports. So it's difficult to travel. Even if the ports are open, it's difficult to travel because every single port requires their own protocols, even if you're in transit. And so that is posing a challenge to us. But the firm commitment on the Chinese part is there, and we always been able to rely on the word given to us and the commitment given us by the People's Republic of China. And of course, the Dominica-China Friendship Hospital is going on well. They're actually pushing more to have the hospital completed in the original schedule, notwithstanding the fact that we're impacted by Hurricane Maria. And the contractors have been working diligently. The ambassador has been very helpful. The commercial counselor and the staff of the Chinese embassy have been very, very helpful, and we thank them most graciously for this. We commissioned on Friday the Wharton Waven Primary School. It was largely funded by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, and of course the government made its counterpart contribution. But we want to thank again the Maria Holder Memorial Trust that is resident in Barbados for their continued partnership in education. They've been so helpful to us. And this is what we're talking about, working together, the non-government organizations, the private sector, civil society. You know, it is not only, we were not placed on earth to criticize, we were placed on earth to build, to make life better for each other, to be our neighbor's keeper. And this is what the Maria Holder Memorial Trust is doing. It's reaching out to Dominica, no affiliation to us, but they have a philanthropic humanitarian interest. And we were affected by Hurricane Maria, and they came to our aid, and they have been with us ever since. And they have spent millions of dollars, investing in early childhood education, investing in primary education. And so we are very, very grateful to them for this. And as I said, I hope that one of the schools can be renamed the Maria Holder Memorial Trust, so that our children, our parents, and the wider community can be reminded that there was a good Samaritan in the Maria Holder Memorial Trust who assisted Dominica in its time of need. And you know, for me as an individual personally, and as the leader of the country, I believe in showing gratitude. I believe in saying thanks. I believe in recognizing the persons who have been good to us. That's the only way we can continue to receive the blessings. If we curse that which has been given to us, then how are we going to get more? You know, and so we have to be thankful. This is why it is written, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Thanks be to the Lord. Whether you have or you don't have, you still have to say thanks, because we have life. You understand? We have life, and it is not ours. It is, you know, can disappear every day. This is why we have to be respectful to each other. We have to be helpful to each other, because we never know when we will need somebody's help. And we should never help people because they may give us something, or we think they may be able to give us something. We have to do it out of the abundance of our heart. And that's how we have to go about society. So today we spoke about International Airport. We are really pushing. You know, I really want this project for Dominica, and we will push, and we will get it done. And you know, I don't boast myself. Neither do I boast this government. I believe in the profoundness of humility. But you know me, if I say something, I try my best to keep my promise. It may come later than when I say, but we do deliver. This is why I don't make any promise to anybody that I can't keep. I tell people, if I say something to you, I keep my word. And this has been my practice all my life, and this will continue my practice. I don't play political games on these things. And so we are committed to this airport, we're committed to this project, we're committed to seeing it through. And we will, by the grace of God, get it through. Good night to you. This is a We have a week ahead. Let us be productive. Let us recognize that we're in a difficult time, but it is not a time for us to be daunted. It's a time for us to deeper in our resilience and to create opportunities in this difficult period. We have to manage money. Money was never meant to be spent, so we should not burn money. There's some guys who have money unless they don't, they put their wallets are empty, their pocket empty, they stop and drinking for the night. So this is a time for us to manage money, for us to set priorities, and to determine what our priorities are on any given day, in any given week. And so we have to manage money in this period, any period, more so this difficult period. But the Lord will see us through. We are hopeful. We are not those with no faith. We have to live by faith, and not be the doubting Thomases who must see the whole of the nails in your hand to believe that the Lord was crucified and the Lord died and he was risen on the third day. So we have to believe that, and so forth. So let us do what we have to do. Last Sunday, I mentioned about the population of Dominica, and I recognize that it invoked a lot of interest, but it is a serious topic which we will have at some point, and I will bring in some people who can speak to this issue and who can make recommendations to us as a country, as a government, as to how do we address this issue. There are a number of causes of it, so we need to study the causes and to see how we can find solutions to those causes. But one of the challenges we have in Dominica is that our population centers are so sparse, so far apart. I mean, let's look at this. The drive from Canefield to Cochrane, over $15 million for the road. You live Colibri, then you have to drive to Collio. What's the distance between Collio and Colibri? But you have roads, you have telephone lines, you have water lines. Then you get to Collio, the next village is Biosh. See the distance between Biosh and Collio. Obviously, in Platmapay, there are some homes we're building, and we intend to build more homes there. But other countries, they're smaller, so they're more dense. So the cost of the infrastructure is lower than us. You know what $15 million could do for a dense population? In terms of roads, in terms of facilities. So all of these villages, we need to have health centers, we need to have schools, we need to have a police station, we need to send the doctors to visit, we need to send DDOs and DDAs and sports officers and cultural officers and agricultural extension officers and youth officers and adult education officers, you name it, we have to send all these people to these communities. And because we have improved the infrastructure in this country, people are building in all parts of Dominica. So 10 years ago, there was only Old Warner. Now, New Warner is larger than Old Warner because you have access now, and infrastructure, access not only to roads, but access to telecommunication services, to water. We spent significant sums of money improving the Warner water system. If you have to look at economies of scale, sometimes do you spend all this money in there? But we've always maintained that investing in water is a social investment. You'll never see your return on this. And we invest in these things. The population of our schools, big structures, small populations. But each of the schools has a principal. And I remember when I was Minister of Education, the study was done by the World Bank, and I don't want to take much of your time, and so give me 2 more minutes and I'll leave. There was a study done by the World Bank during the austerity period, and they had recommended in that report to close small schools. And some of the small schools included Tebow, included Dodan, included Bells, and there were several others. I'm not sure if Tetman was part of it, I can't remember, I believe so. And I believe Belleville Chopin was a small school. They told us to close Belleville Chopin. So there are a number of small schools they had recommended that we would close. And I was firmly opposed to it. And the truth is, I was the only person in the Ministry of Education opposed to it. Because I believe a school is important for community. And so, as fate would have it, I became Prime Minister the following year. And the World Bank sent a lady down to see me. And she said to me that she was sent by Washington to speak to me about the schools because we could save so many millions of dollars if we closed these small schools and send them to different locations. And I said, yes, I'm opposed to the school because I believe a school is important in the community, notwithstanding the size of the population. And so I asked the police to get me a vehicle, and I asked my staff to get me a map of Dominica. And I jumped in the driver's seat of the vehicle and asked the lady to sit at the front. And I drove 2 hours in the vehicle. And I drove to Bells. And when I got to Bells, I parked in the yard and I said, look, this is the airport you came from. This is the financial center, my office where we came from. This is Bells, the middle of the rainforest. We have had to introduce a school feeding program in Bells for breakfast and lunch, and also a transportation program because students want to come back to school after lunch. And they couldn't get to school in the morning because it's always raining in Bells. And then we'd have to send the children to either Marigot or Atkinson, or we have to send them into Massac. And I say, if I had a problem with attendance having the school in the village, what do you think is going to be the challenge in sending them out to the village? So it is not about dollars and cents, it is about being practical and so forth. But one cannot discount the fact that it costs money to run the schools, it costs money to run these communities, and the further apart we are, we did roads, and people, Dominicans now have gotten so accustomed to smooth roads, from a little pothole up here, a little rainfall and potholes up here. Hey, Skerrit, wait, now it's Cassidy, where you the fellas, man, I mean, we're going to block the road because the pothole's there. But, and instead of the guys taking a bucket of sand and stone and a quarter bag of cement, and fellas decide, okay, let's block the hole. Men want me is to come all the way from vehicles and so on to block a hole in a community and so on, which is fine. It's fine. But we get so accustomed to these things. But these things were not the reality of Dominica some years ago, So let us appreciate what we have done for ourselves as a nation, and let us work to make life better for all of us. And this is our challenge, and this should be our commitment to ourselves and to our nation. Good night. Go forth and serve your Lord and country, and let us work for our country's development as we continue to praise the Lord for his many blessings and guidance. Have a wonderful week. God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless our beautiful country, Dominica. Thank you.
Dirty hands are everywhere. They touch everything. Light switches, telephones, doorknobs, desks, remote controls, computer keyboards, and countertops. Protect yourself and your loved ones by cleaning all surfaces regularly with alcohol, minimum 70%, with bleach, or with an effective cleaning product such as Lysol. Help stop the spread of germs. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
A message by the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Dominica.